Here, I'll share it here. How's that? Is that big enough for everyone to see, or do I need to increase the screen?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Yep.
So again, jump in. And Luke, especially, as you see things that you want to kind of double down on or talk more about, but this is a subject that we're really passionate about here at Designology. And so, sorry, I'll try and compete with whatever is going on behind me there, but hopefully that doesn't distract. Bringing the voice of the consumer into brand positioning. So what does that mean exactly? Everybody at some point in time, if everybody in this space is fortunate enough, our products are going to be in front of consumers, right? And they get to determine, not us, whether or not the product is going to be successful or not. So you can have, as the entrepreneur, you can have a great idea. As the brand person, you can have a great concept for a brand. The designer, you have a great package design. You can innovate with structure. You can find white space. None of it matters if it doesn't come off the shelf. Because if it doesn't come off the shelf into the cart, it's going to come off the shelf into the dustbin. And so it's the consumer that really has that final voice. So our idea as an agency is we want that consumer's voice involved as early and as often as possible in this. And so I had this as we kind of went through this. So I wanted to start it off. So since I hear this coming back to me from Vdriven clients, I know that Luke is on board with this. So these are the three questions that every consumer asks about every package as they approach a shelf. The first is, do I see it? So if they don't see it, if they can't find you, then you're not relevant. Do I know what it is? If we do a good job with the packaging design, if your communication strategy works, if everything comes together there, then as they approach the shelf, they know what it is. And then the final question is it for me? So the question is, how do you answer those questions when you're at the top of the funnel? It's easy to answer them after they get on shelf. It's obvious what consumers, how they react to it. But how do you answer those as early in that process as possible? And so this whole thing, everything that we're putting together into this presentation today came out of two different things. One is our three questions, these three questions that drive us. And then something that I pulled from a good friend of mine. I just thought this was a brilliant line. It became something that stuck with me forever. I wish I could take credit for it, but great philosopher of our time. Here it is. Luke Abbott, Vdriven Consulting. I believe it was in, I'm trying to think whether it was your accounting masterclass or it was one of the classes that I tuned in, and you said this line, everyone starts with a hypothesis.
Yep.
And it's so true, right? Every product innovation starts with a good idea. The question is, how do we know how accurate that idea is? So this is a LinkedIn post. This is not my LinkedIn post. This came across my feed a couple of days ago. And it's a behavioral scientist putting this out. And there's the one on the left here, this is the opening. He threw these two cans out there. One, this can on the left, the Campbell's tomato soup with the tomato on it, the appetite appeal shot. That's their new design. And then the retouched can without the appetite appeal, that's their old design essentially. And so his hypothesis is that you probably gravitated to this one without the image. So behavioral science, that's where it went. So he had this hypothesis. And then he had these other slides which described his rationale. Now it's a little wordy and maybe a little highbrow, but he had a lot of things in here that sounded very authoritative, very scientific. But the question that I had was, is it right? All of this makes a lot of sense, but is it right? So we put it to the test. And we are big believers in context learning. Somebody in this guy's feed commented and said, all of that sounds great, but I noticed that you tested it kind of without any context. So what would happen if we put it in context? Well, that's what we do at Designology. So that's what we did. So this is a couple of screenshots from our pivot platform where we threw this can on shelf. You can see these cans here. I know it's kind of small, but the red and white soup on the left, those are the cans without the imagery. On the right is another cell in our testing platform with the cans with the imagery. Now, it's not the same can over and over, it's their entire line. And we ran consumers through it. We ran about 200 consumers through this just to see kind of what they did about it.
How do you select the consumer, Steve?
Great question. So we try to find the right consumers. That's part of what the mission statement is beyond the platform, is the right consumers with the right questions at the right time. So in this case, back up, in this case, we recruited grocery store consumers that buy in store, primarily buy in store, and have bought soup within the past 3 months. So they're current consumers of canned soup. Now, with some other tests that we would do, we'd get a lot more specific than that. We'd look for natural channel shoppers. We would look for specific age categories. We can look at specific geographic regions, but this was just a quick test to answer a question. So we went with traditional grocery shoppers that have bought canned soup within the last 3 months.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Sure. And the short answer is he was wrong.
He was wrong. I'm like, I would have chosen with the picture of the tomato.
Yeah, absolutely. And consumers overwhelmingly agreed with you. So out of that entire shelf, the Campbell's tomato soup, and this is the product that we selected just to kind of test. This one without it, without the image, took 13th in that category overall. You can see the one over here took 4th. But there are other, and that's with all the competitive pressure, everything that's measuring all the competitors. That's not just 4th within the Campbell's line. That's on that shelf. It took number 4. Look at the conversion rate. So the conversion rate we measure by the people that pick it up. So in our testing platform, they can click on an item and they can roll it around, look at the back panel, look at the nutritionals, look at it up close and personal. So they're kind of handling it. And then they're asking that final question, is it for me? And if it's not, they put it back on shelf. If it is, they put it in their cart. And so that's what we call the conversion rate. Well, the one with the appetite appeal pulled an 82% conversion rate. So 82% of the consumers that picked it up completed the purchase. Without it, it dropped to 60%. The attitudinal assessment, we're asking 3 questions about each one of these. We put the product in front of them and ask them, would it taste great? Is this the product that you grew up with? In other words, did it retain its iconic stature? Campbell's soup in a can is iconic. And then, is it for someone like me? With the appetite appeal, it won on every one of those 3 questions. Overwhelming.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that the biggest increase was the second one from 67% to 83? Did you notice that? And it's like this idea would taste the same.
How ironic is that?
Yes, it's ironic.
This actually is the one on the other side. That actually is
the one you grew up with.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
So I have some insight into Campbell's. Campbell's has been a client of ours over the years. And so one of the things that I know about this redesign is that, which we didn't do, by the way, but one of the things that I do know about it is that their challenge was, how do we bring appetite appeal into this classic design without losing the iconic nature of the design architecture? So that question right there, which great eye, that's the one to pull out. That question tells me that they succeeded. So, and then blended purchase intent. So we don't just ask about purchase intent. We do ask, do you intend to, is this the type of product? We show it to you. What is the likelihood that you would purchase this? But see, consumers in just a survey tend to try to give you the answers that you want. So we also blend that with, did they buy it? So if somebody didn't buy it, but then said they would buy it, they get excluded from this question.
When you say buy it, like, did they literally buy it on your platform?
Yes. Well, so they're in the intro, they're told you're not shopping with money. You're not going to get any products delivered, but we want you to shop as you normally would. So if I back up, you can kind of see on here, there's pricing on the shelves.
Yeah.
That's accurate pricing. And they have to click on this and then click add to cart and complete a purchase.
Okay.
So their purchase intent, when we blended it between did they actually buy it in the shopping exercise and did they say they would buy it? Again, went up from 26% to 37%. And we see that all over the place. Appetite appeal drives purchase. So it was an odd hypothesis to rule the other way. Now that's not 100% true. And I've got a case study at the end if we get to it. That shows the other way, where they found that it didn't drive sales. So it's not always accurate, but in this case, it was.
And it certainly could be just the execution of the same idea, different, at different levels of execution.
Yeah. So then extending that into our current context, we ran a shelf test with some brave entrepreneurs that submitted their products to us over the past couple of days. We have Repeak, PRI Honey, and we have Date Better on this shelf. So we ran this. This is a very eclectic shelf. We traditionally wouldn't run a shelf this eclectic, but for the purposes of today, just to kind of see how things went, that's what we did. Do we have all three of these companies in here?
Yeah, Dom and Michelle, I think, are here, and then the third one, I don't know. What was the other brand? I'm sorry, was it Dorel?
Three Peak.
Three Peak. Are you here, Three Peak? I'm here. Wesley. Yes, all three are here. And if Sasha, if you want, you can promote them so that they are in the room with us and we can have a discussion. And we'll see who gets here first.
Hello.
Dom.
Hey,
welcome.
how's it going? Thank you.
Dom is been a client. It was actually one of my first clients, and we've had so much fun together. And I'm so glad you submitted for this opportunity, Dom. This will be a fun conversation.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Dom, you found a way to get the insights game started.
I did finally. Yes. Sorry it's taking so long, Steve, but we'll get there.
Oh, no, that's all right. This is actually you and Michelle, right? Date Better.
Yes.
Both of us have talked about doing some insights, and so this was great. I was pumped that you guys submitted for this because I mean, why not take the opportunity? You're getting a start. Now, I will say this is nowhere near as in depth as what we would do if we walk down this path together.
Right.
But it was a great opportunity to get it started. And we actually have some really interesting insights for each one. Now, I will say, Wesley, with your line, I'm not sure we picked the right. So what we did in each case, as you can see, we have multiple products from each brand on shelf. Michelle, we did go with the existing design that was out there in market instead of the new designs, because what we'd love to do is test those new designs against this one as a control.
Right.
And then pull out some other insights on that to help guide the rest of that process. But in each case, what I had to do is pick what we considered a lead item to try and get the feedback on. Wesley, just out of curiosity, which one of your items would you say is your lead SKU?
The purple one, the passion fruit.
Okay. Sorry, I chose the coconut water. So I'll go back through and see kind of where the passion fruit landed. If you all want to follow up with me afterwards, by the way, and schedule a one-on-one, I'd love to go over each of your test results kind of in depth and talk about what it means and maybe what it doesn't mean at the same time. And I won't charge for that. But we won't be able to get super in depth here in this class.
Okay.
So it might be a good opportunity, and that'll give me time to mine a little deeper data than I pulled out in your coconut water. So here's the results for the coconut water. So we used yours as the control of the group. We have to select something on the shelf to use as a control that everything else gets measured against. Now you got these comments were typical of the comments that we got it was all about coconut. They picked this product because they love coconut. It was interesting to me that nobody talked about seltzer or energy or just the overall health benefits of coconut water. It was all about that flavor, which tells me that leaning into your flavor profile and getting as much out of it as possible helps. So your conversion rate of 38% was really good. That's the benchmark that we then used for the rest of it. So of the people that picked it up, 38% of them put it in their cart. Now it's good. It's not outstanding. So I think there's room to improve on that. And again, I want to look at it with your lead SKU now, knowing that, and kind of go back and see how much better did you do in that SKU. And I'm also not 100% sure, by the way, this context isn't right. So these results, if we put you guys in context on a shelf by yourself with your competitors, I expect that these results would change. Now, one of the things that we pulled out of yours that was really significant to me is a 75% recall on this. So 75%, and that was actually significantly high compared to other products that we showed. People remembered seeing, so your brand is standing out. They're remembering seeing your brand on shelf. So that's a good sign. So are you on shelf today, Wesley?
Yeah, we're in a handful of stores, maybe 100 to 150 stores in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay. And how's it going? How are in-category sales going for you, just out of curiosity?
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. What you're seeing here is a complete rebrand.
Okay.
So this is all new. This hasn't actually been on the shelf, which is kind of
Oh,
funny.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to, an interesting test to do might be to kind of measure this against, run the same test with the old design and see how much better you did. So some nice scores here. This product is new and different. These are the key questions that we ask everybody. 72% identified that the product was new and different. Now, 51%, this is for someone like me. Now, here's where the only screening that we put into this was we wanted to find shoppers of kind of higher end grocery stores, natural channel shoppers. They had to select one of the types of products on this shelf as something that they currently purchase or would purchase. And they had to say that they were open to new and different ideas. So it's not like we're honing in on your shoppers. So somebody could get in here because they really like Manuka honey, and they might not be energy drink shoppers. So if they said none of the above, then they didn't get in. So there's nobody in here that's opposed to everything, but this might not be your key shopper. This is just a good illustration of the kind of data that we pull out on this stuff. So that's where you wound up. Any questions, by the way, on anything?
No questions. I think one thing that you said that was interesting, well, speaking of point number 2, is one thing from doing like sample tables and demo tables is a lot of people that I found, which was I thought very interesting, was the number one turnaway was no, caffeine isn't for me. I don't want caffeine. I was surprised how many people weren't interested in something that wasn't caffeinated. So that's probably my guess is a big part of that is people don't want caffeine, or they don't want caffeine all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's more behind it. It would be interesting to chat further about it. So yeah, follow up if you want, and I'd be happy to run a quick retest with the old design, or to run it back through with with maybe shoppers that were a little bit more in your category. So
okay,
definitely something that we would be interested in chatting about.
Awesome, thank you.
And
so moving on,
and Steve, just being up just one more second, like in terms of Repeak, as you look at the set, it's interesting how is it Zoa and Celsius, like they change the color at the bottom of their cans.
Yep.
And then ours is like the solid one. But I don't know. I don't shop this set, but it feels like Repeak just kind of grabs me more. Do I notice it? Yes. Like it does really grab me.
Yeah,
Did
so
you notice that too? Or
75% recall would kind of, I think, lean into that too.
Yeah. I think did a really good job on that rebrand.
Yeah, it's nice. It's clean. It's really clean, and that's definitely modern.
Well, and then no BS ingredients. This is exactly on consumer trend right now. Everyone's like, really, we've all been BS'd by so many CPG companies, and now it's like people are getting like, let's get real. And so I think that's a good call out. Pretty bold. Cool. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So date better, Michelle. Here we go.
Hi.
A lot of feedback on flavor. It comes across sounding like it would be delicious. I love it looks healthy-ish. It looks healthy-ish. I love that kind of comment because that's an interesting space to be in, right? Where it's not bad for you. There's definitely a health component, but we're selling enjoyment. We are selling indulgence here. So I think they hit that. Would you agree that that's kind of your platform?
Yes, definitely. A healthy, better for you treat.
Yeah. So 85% incremental purchase index. 85%. So if they picked it up overwhelmingly, they bought it. Now, do you remember back to the slide that I shared about 3 slides ago where we're talking about the Campbell stuff?
Right.
You remember what their sales looked like in that category and how people, it was if they picked it up, they were buying it. So this is not only are they picking it up and they're buying it, but what they're saying here with incremental is this is going to be something, and this is key here. This is really, really key. As you're selling this into category buyers always want to know one thing. What's this going to do to my category? Is it going to bring new consumers into it? Is it going to cannibalize off of stuff that's already there? Is it just going to, kind of blend into the background and people aren't going to notice it? 85% incrementality means not only are they buying it, but they are saying, I would buy this in addition to things I already buy in the store today. So that is a key component of a sales pitch into retail. Luke, would you agree? You've got far more experience with that than me.
Yeah. Ultimately, the job of a category manager is to grow the category, and it's not just to cannibalize. So to take something out to bring something in that's just going to replace it makes no sense, right? The goal is to grow it. So absolutely.
So again, I think it's something that you should explore further, that if we honed in on your consumers, specifically on the category consumers, and isolated your category and did that study, if you maintain that number, you've got a rock star in the making here.
Oh, that's what does A stand for? Sorry, the 40.
Okay, so A would be the control, B would be your product in this case. We always measure everything against some type of control just so we have a comparison point. And as you can see, 85% versus 40%. Sorry, Wesley, in this case, you're the control, but again, cross-category, it's not really as relevant as it would be. It's just the way the testing platform is built. So if you were in this, if we were just in your category, Michelle, the control, the A, would be one of your close competitors on that shelf.
Okay.
So in this case, A isn't super relevant, although for bragging rights, it should feel pretty good to you.
She'll take
Hopefully
it.
you and Wesley
I'll
aren't
take
best
it.
friends. I'm stirring up trouble amongst the Vdriven tribe, Luke. Sorry.
I know competition. I love it. And a question for you, Steve, just maybe outside this the test results. I've presented this line before and I've gotten feedback like, hey, would it be better to have show like a date or like what it is, or have a clear window? Do you need feedback on that just at a high level?
I will say the one thing that I could say about that on here is 54% for this product would taste great. Feels very low.
Yeah, it feels low to me too. Because this is an amazing, I buy this product all the time in my local store. It's the best.
Yeah. So, Michelle, you actually ranked pretty high on this shelf, which again, it's not a real shelf. It's not a category. So it's not, take it with a grain of salt, but somebody has to win, somebody has to lose on the shelf, and you ranked pretty high. So for a product that ranked really high, got a lot of comments on, I think it would taste great. For you to get that 54% feels really kind of out of context to me. So I would be curious if I ran this shelf again, and this is something that we might think about studying. If we ran this shelf again and used your product as the control, the existing design, and a new design with some appetite appeal on it, let's see what happens to that number. And I would be willing to bet that 54% starts to climb.
Oh, amazing.
would-
I
I
do
would
think that
too.
some people are afraid of dates and they think, oh, I don't know about dates. I get that a lot in our demos. And
Yeah.
then I say, well, just try it. And they taste it and they say, oh, wow. Like I feel more often than not, people are more surprised by the taste.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not shocked.
Yeah.
I like dates, and I'm looking forward to seeing your product in stores near me. So it can't be everybody that feels that way. But my bet is that we add some appetite appeal. We start to build some of that for you. I bet you that. And by we, I just, I'm not pitching our design services. I mean, we're here if you need us. But you add some of that into that packaging, and I bet you that number starts to climb. I'd be curious to see how it would do stacked head to head.
Thank you so much for running this. I really
Oh,
appreciate
yeah, sure. And please, again, do follow up with me. I'd love to go over the rest of the results.
it. Thank you.
Okay, Dom, you ready?
I'm ready.
So, Dom, you were, if I had to assess a winner here, I think it's you. And it really comes down to, for me, so the 80% incremental purchase index for this product, we used this product. It wasn't the jar
Okay.
that we tested. It was this one. 80% incremental. I love that number. Again, not quite as high. Michelle, you took that one home. But really high, really strong. But your attitudinal assessment was off the charts. This is
Interesting.
spectacular numbers. So 80% this product is new and different. That led the shelf. This product is for someone like me. Honey products tend to be on the polarizing side. You either love or you don't. And so getting 69% of these consumers that said, yeah, that's a product that's for someone like me. And especially like Manuka honey and the dark chocolate and the orange, those are some polarizing flavors put together there. So that's 69%. I feel like that's really strong.
Yeah,
And
very interesting.
same 69%, this product would taste great. Now, again, it's not your specific category shoppers, although they are open to your category and they are open to new and different experiences. It would be great to see what happens as we do some more focused research on here. But your brand ranked pretty highly on this shelf, and we got a lot of good feedback about it. Loved the 99% cacao. This is an item with that great, and so we always use the consumer comments verbatim. We don't alter them. So
Okay.
the fact that it doesn't read quite right is not my fault. That's my disclaimer.
That's
This is
okay.
a great Manuka honey and chocolate paired with orange should be tasty. They like the flavor profile. And then here you go, appetite appeal. The picture got my attention, and then I like honey. So they saw that picture first. It stuck out to them on the shelf. And then they noticed
good.
what the product was.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that like the kind of the side view cut. I mean, that
Yep.
just oozes deliciousness.
Oh yeah, that image right there is spot on. You know, we do a lot of design work for Hershey. We've been a supplier of theirs for a long time, and that's exactly where. So the big CPG chocolate confectionery brands, that's exactly the type of image that they already know wins. So you did a great job with that.
So, and one thing on
Cool.
this too is notice how the dark chocolate patties as words are relatively small.
Mhm.
And so, but I don't need them to be big because I get it. I have a reference point with that imagery,
Yeah.
and then I can emphasize the honey, and I'm like, wow, that Manuka honey I'm used to. If you look over there on the right hand side, you can see some Manuka honey is $120 a jar, and I'm going,
Yeah.
that's what is the retail on this again? It's $7.99 on this one or $9.99?
Not
Yeah,
9.90. Well, between 9 and 11, depending on the
Yeah, so it
retailer.
feels like a really good deal. I'm like, why do I want to buy this? This is Manuka. It looks delicious, and it's at a reasonable price for Manuka.
Yeah. So you did real well on the shelf. Reach out and let's chat about all the rest of the data that we were able to pull from this.
Great. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sending it in. All right, so I wanted to talk just a little bit, and this, I don't have much left, so we'll leave plenty of room for people to ask questions and whatever. I don't know, Sasha, do we have questions waiting in the wings?
We don't have any questions yet, but yeah, I want to encourage everyone who is on this call to add into Q&A section or to the chat box.
Okay.
That's right. And then you also can raise your hand anytime as Steve's presenting, or even when we're done during the question and answer space. You can raise your hand as well.
So let's talk a little bit about how insights empower innovation. So I found this quote to be really impactful. This is a professor at Harvard Business said nearly 30,000 new products are introduced each year and 95% of them fail. That's given that we're in a room full of entrepreneurs and product launchers here. That should be a little bit of a chilling statistic. And Luke, I think it was you that told me as we walked the floor a couple of years ago at Expo West, you were talking about how many of these people won't be here next year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's profound. So, yes,
it's not an easy task. Right. So how do we empower it? How do we do it? And one of the things that we like to talk about is bringing insights into the product development funnel drives better innovation. It doesn't, you don't need to read all of this stuff. By the way, I'd be happy if you shared this presentation deck afterwards, if you wanted to, or if people want it, they can reach out to me. But test early, test often, and test correctly. That's our 3-step plan for how we bring that in. And these are really kind of significant. I've been in this business now for about 25 years. I've worked with a lot of big CPG companies, and I've seen even at that large level where people have the budget for consumer insights, that number 1 up there, test early, that nobody does this. And it's mystifying because that's where things tend to get off the rails. If they have a bad start, so going back to Luke's premise, everyone starts with a hypothesis. What if your hypothesis isn't quite aimed in the right direction? And you start going down that path, you're investing time, you're investing money, and you all know that there's not enough of that to go around. Most new product startups are bootstrapped, right? So and cash strapped goes along with that. So understanding early whether or not you're on the right track is important. I actually worked on a new brand. No, actually it was a rebrand for Colgate-Palmolive. And Colgate, you would think like top dollar. I mean, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on insights. They took this rebrand all the way through a rollout of dozens and dozens of SKUs, and then took this sucker into consumer, they call it consumer validation. It's like their last step before launch. And it failed. The results they got back were that their new design didn't move the needle. And so it went back into redesign. All that money put on hold, wasted, and they went back to the beginning. If you test early, you can innovate more accurately. So the front of the funnel is the place to begin. It doesn't need to be exhaustive. It just needs to be good. It just needs to be accurate. And so we developed our platform in essence to help do that. It doesn't cost much to test on our platform. And so we encourage people to do it often. So testing throughout development is the next recommendation that we make. It's as you develop your idea, bring the voice of the consumer into product design. As you innovate your line, bring that in. Test your hypothesis often while you still have time to pivot. As a matter of fact, that's why we call the platform Pivot. And then do it the right way. And Luke brought this up, and he's spot on. What consumers did you use for this? Is it your consumers? Is it the category consumers? Are they current shoppers? Do we care about price shoppers if we're going to launch at Whole Foods? So make sure it's the right consumers. It has to be not just in the context of the retail environment, but it's got to be the right consumers. Because you walk into Whole Foods and say, this product is going to be a blockbuster. We tested it. Here's the results. I guarantee you that's the first question they ask. What consumers did you use? And if you can say yours, it's going to resonate.
Yeah. And I bet, Steve, I've worked in this space now for a while and worked with hundreds of brands. I mean, 95% of brands or even more do not do any of this testing beyond like what they think or their family thinks. And
Right.
it's amazing, right? That we're going through
Yeah.
all the effort to bring something to market, to put it on shelf and do a free fill and do a promotional program. And we didn't take the time to make sure we got it right. Yeah, it's a very expensive test.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There's no amount of testing that is more expensive than pulling unsold product off the shelf.
Yes, or having KE deduct from you as they throw it away. Yeah,
Mm.
that's not good. So
The two most common audiences that I hear people say, if they're testing at all, it's exactly what you said. The number one, friends and family.
Yep.
And number two, the other one that's coming up a lot more these days is, oh, I put the question out to my social media audience,
Oh no.
to my
Yeah.
followers. So not only are your followers not always representative of your consumers, but they're because they're not all of your consumers. They're just your consumers that are on social media. So you're getting a subset of your consumers, right? But in a lot of cases, you find that they're not even your consumers. They're just your followers. They like the way you post. They like the way you talk. They're following you because they just want to follow somebody that's interesting, that's posting the right way. And if they are you're in fact following you, if they are in fact your consumers, then they're the ones most likely to just tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
no research.
No. The other part, Steve, that I've also noticed is with young and emerging brands is, oh, I do demos and I get such great feedback from people at the demo. And it's like, I've had many brands that have totally failed. And it's like, I don't understand. Everyone gives me good feedback. So, well, maybe they really like you and maybe you're really good at communicating.
Right.
And right. And so it's like you cannot rely on any of these, like the two you mentioned, and then this one, and then demos. You can't use that for market research, in my opinion, in general.
Yeah, I agree with you. We used to do a lot of focus groups where we'd recruit consumers and we'd bring them into a room. In some cases, you were bringing them into a room at the CPG. So like at Campbell's might bring them in-house at Campbell's, and they all have
Yeah.
rooms where they do these focus groups. You want to find an environment where everybody is they're trying to get hired as the next great marketer. They have in their mind that if I give the perfect answer, I might have a job at this company. Or they just, hey, I know what you want to hear. Your product is awesome, and I'm going to be the one to tell you that your product is awesome. You get zero good feedback out of that stuff. We don't do any focus groups anymore. Not the traditional way.
Right on.
So I have a couple of case studies we can walk through if you want to, or we can go to questions.
Well, one thing that comes up real quick before, and I think maybe we go to case studies because I saw the next brand you were going to show. I know you did a lot of work on that one. It's been fun. But one of the things I struggle with as someone who runs a company that represents brands into the natural space, that often have never been on shelf or a very limited shelf opportunity to have any velocity stories, is to have anything that's outside of hey, there's this white space and we're going to it and it's growing, and so we can find that data generally online. But to be able to have a reason to believe for that category manager that this actually will perform better than what's already on shelf,
Yep.
I think I get it's like this development part that you covered, but to me, as someone who's like having to go sell this stuff, these amazing new products, like that's magic. If I can put that into a sales deck and show them here objective data that substantiates that this will grow your category. We found Sprout shoppers or Whole Foods shoppers. Is that fair?
Oh, it's 100% fair. I was just having that conversation just the other day with a retailer that's a client, and it's 100% accurate.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. We can hit the case study real quick and then go to questions.
Sure. So this is a case study where this was a pitch into a retailer, and the retailer didn't react well to the original design, right, Luke? Is that fair?
Yeah, it was like they pretty much, it was like vomited in their mouth over it. Yes, it was so bad.
So we had what 2 weeks, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, 2 weeks
to turn this back around. And so what we did, we call it consumer co-creation. So we're going out to testing. We're going to quick do a couple of different design iterations. So if I zoomed in here, the original design is this one over here. And then these are our design iterations. And then we threw it into a pivot shelf, recruited shoppers. So this was going to Sprouts. So we recruited Sprouts shoppers. We recruited consumers that shop this channel. So they're buying supplements and aids specifically in beauty, skin, hair, nails. So making sure that we get the right consumers for this one. This was an in-depth study. And what we did is obviously validated that the original wasn't going to go anywhere. So if I zoomed in on here, you'd see that the control took 14th in the category. The new design took 3rd. This is actually, this is actually the 2nd design iteration, because what we did is we took those 2 designs, which you see on shelf in the image in the laptop. We got consumer feedback on each of those designs, looked at what sold, what didn't sell, got consumer feedback with specific questions targeting different areas of the design. What call outs do you want to hear? What's important? Is it important that it's vegan? Is it important that it's quick dissolve? Do you understand the product? Put all that together and came up with a 3rd design, which was kind of a mashup of those 2, and then tested that against the original. And so that's what you see. Sorry, I can't zoom in real well on this. It's going to change the slide. But what we did is we took the original at 14th and took it up to 3rd in the category, and we absolutely crushed it in almost every other instance. So we were able to say that this is going to grow the category. It's incremental, and this new design has been validated with your consumers. So it was just a great success in here. And it really came down to this question in the upper left: what's my optimal brand design and communication hierarchy? How is it that I'm supposed to get consumers who don't know what this is to understand so that they'll buy it?
Yeah, because that original name, that I think it was like nanothins, like
Yes.
meant nothing to anyone. No clue. And so I think having like the imagery you developed on the bottom right-hand side with the oral strips, like kind of signaling it's like those Listerine strips that I can relate to, the flavor, like what it does. Yeah, it was definite massive improvement from what we had at the beginning.
And so the point being, this isn't, it's not impossible. This is a developing brand, right? This is somebody that was just at the pitch stage. It's not super expensive that it's going to be out of reach for everybody. It's not something that takes a month and a half to do. These are questions that every brand can answer as they're going into a pitch stage. And the ideal time to have done this, by the way, is before you go in and blow the first pitch with something that isn't tuned up for what the consumers or the category manager are going to want to see.
Yep. Beautifully said.
One more that I wanted to share, and because this is an interesting one, you talked about BAM. This is from the BAM launch that we did. And this is one where even my hypothesis was not nearly accurate. So we got close to the end of the line. We had this design on the right here. So this is actually our control. And we pressure tested it because in the category, we found that a lot of people are doing the shots of the beverage. You know, we wanted them to make sure that it felt milk-like. It felt like it was doing what it should. And so you can see in this design on the left, this is stimuli. This is not, I would not put a package out there with this much fluid on it. This was really to kind of over-index on the appetite appeal. And it was unfathomable to me that that one was not going to at least hang in there with the original, but it didn't come close. Category rank of 13 on the right, down to 29 with the new design on the left. 82% conversion rate. 82%. When they picked it up, 82% of them put it right in their cart. 14% for the one with the appetite appeal. That's abysmal. That's almost 9 out of 10 people that picked you up that put it back on shelf and didn't complete the purchase. And category sales, 1% of the category on the left and 6% of the category on the right. And before you look at that number and say, well, that's 6% of the category, that's not very high. Understand, this is a new brand launch. Consumers do not have any idea what this product is. It has no brand following, no brand loyalty. I think anybody walking into a category and immediately capturing 6% of the sales in the category is going to be overwhelmed with joy.
Yep. Yep. And clearly Whole Foods liked it because they did a SoPac launch with it. So
Yep.
like one of almost right out of the gate. I think she had maybe a few other retailers and then boom, Whole Foods.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
good
this
job.
is where I'm learning, and over again, you keep getting this lesson. I don't even trust my own judgment at this point. People ask me all the time, yeah, but just tell me what you think. I want to hear what you think about it. You've got a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience, and my experience would have told me that appetite appeal is going to increase your sales. And I was wrong. You let the consumers tell you.
Mhm.
So two parting thoughts. And then, hopefully there's some people that want to discuss some things. And if not, I'll give you 10 minutes back. But two things. One, don't let not knowing stop you from doing. All right. This insights-led innovation deck is not intended to convince anybody that, well, I can't do insights, or I didn't do insights, so let's pull back on this. No. Nobody succeeds if they don't start, right? And it's better to get the ball rolling and then learn if that's the order that you have to do it in, rather than not getting the ball rolling at all. So don't let not knowing stop you from doing, but don't let bad guesses stop you from succeeding either. So the tools are out there. You have the ability within reach to you of getting some insights into that process. We do this stuff all the time for brands of many different levels of in market, down to, all the way up to category captains we're working with, and down to brands that are in the early stages of just testing out an idea. I have a hypothesis. How do I know more about it? So this kind of stuff is out there. We're not the only company that works our way. I just happen to think that we're the best. But the resources are there, and my encouragement is everyone to use them. So, Luke, with your permission, I'll throw this up here. This will lead, if you all want to scan this and use this, this would lead you to a place on our website where, if you're interested in more information, if you want to talk further, Sasha put my email address out there. Feel free to just use that and reach out. If you'd like to chat through, one of the things that I said at the beginning of this to Sasha and Luke, be more than willing to do like a 30-minute deep dive into where you're at, offer my own input for free to anybody that wants to just chat it through and share where you're at and get a tune-up. We love working with developing brands, and we try not to put things out of reach. So throwing it out there.
Yep, I can attest to that. You've worked with a lot of them. I think I recommend about 2 to you every week. That I just like, okay, we need to move this thing forward, because oftentimes it's D2C brands too, right? That where if anyone has noticed, like, people are willing to pay more, and packaging doesn't really matter online in the same way that it does in retail.
Not the same way. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
As a
it's
matter of fact, the rise of D2C has influenced us to augment our testing platform, where we've got the ability to test a website-driven sales approach. So we can now test the D2C model as well. It's not just retail shelf. So we do retail shelf, e-commerce on Amazon, e-commerce in grocery, and e-commerce D2C.
Oh, that's great. Could you simulate like an Instacart type of experience then, or is it like
For the D2C?
Yeah, I'm curious. So it wouldn't. That's really just the normal packaging, I guess. In that case, almost like
in that case. So no, for D2C, what we do is we'll build out we have the ability to deploy a quick brand website with a shop page on it.
Cool.
And so you can tell your brand story. You can use it to test variations of your brand story. So it's got the home page, it's got the about us, the products page, the PDP, and then the cart process.
Beautiful. Awesome. Very innovative. I didn't even know this, and I talk to you all the time.
That's brand new. We're launching that as we speak.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, I do want to create space for questions. Toward the bottom middle of your screen, there's this area where you can click like raise hand. Certainly you can enter something into the chat box if you have a question. I think this is in fact, I know Steve is a great resource, so feel free to use this time with him to ask any questions you have. And let's see here. I love it. Okay, any questions, Sasha, coming in? Any hands raised?
I don't have any questions here. Michelle is just saying thank you so much for this. Look forward to reaching out back to you, Steve. Okay, so here's a question in a Q&A. Rules of thumb for logo size versus, and it's not finished. So if you want to maybe raise your hand, so I can bring you on the screen and ask directly. Let me know. Okay, so rules of thumb for
logo size versus flavors, product, etc.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish it was an easy answer. But here, this would be I think the way I would steer this one, it's going to depend, and everybody hates that answer, right? But so I started learning about how big brands look at logo size when I was working on a design project for M&M's on the Snickers brand, and I think it was a seasonal product. And we did 3 or 4 different, what I thought were brilliant seasonal executions on this. And it's a Snickers bar. You don't have a lot of real estate, right? And I took them into to the brand manager, and he took all of them and he shoved them off his desk and said, "This is crap. This is crap. This is crap." He said, "Let me tell you something, son." He was about 20 years older than me. He's trying to sound like my dad, I guess. "Let me tell you about branding. I want you to take my Snickers logo and I want you to stretch it from this corner of the package up to this corner of the package, and whatever is left, you can decorate." So if you ask Snickers about logo size, they would say logo size as big as you can make it, and the rest is up to you. But see, the difference maker is what sells Snickers? The brand.
Right. It's iconic.
Yep. So that works for an iconic national brand. It works every time because they've got a brand following, they've got, all of that. So for a new product, what's going to sell it? It's not going to be your brand. Now you're in a place where you need to build some of that. There's got to be brand recognition. So the brand has to be present. But I think sometimes people make the mistake of treating because they're looking at what's out there. You're looking at the shelf. If you're doing your job right, you're looking at the shelf and you're looking at your competitors and you're trying to size your stuff appropriately for that. There's no rule of thumb that's going to be true every time for this. But I would say what you want to do, in 9 times out of 10, if you have a great new product innovation, you want to lean into whatever created the white space for it. It's not going to be the brand necessarily. It's going to be the flavor profile, or it's going to be how delicious the thing is. Appetite appeal in that case. It's going to be, for BAM, it was first of all, buckwheat is relatively unknown in the space. So we had to make a big deal about buckwheat. And then this is a brand with a platform because agriculture matters. So that's why we created that image with the soil and the roots. So what is it that's going to build that white space? Lean into that. And that's going to mean it's a different answer for each product. Luke, do you agree?
I 100% agree. And it is different for every product. And yeah, I'm just thinking about a client that we're working with that is bringing something that's never been in the US, something called cuñapes. And so they had put on their package cuñapes. And I'm like, and that's like, yes, there we go. You're that's right. You're helping because I'm like, and so they're working with this really cool design firm up in San Francisco. And then, so before I connected them to you, and we brought it into a pitch slam with Sprouts, and they were just like, this is like, this won't work. Like this fact, and the company they're working with is like, they're on the cutting edge and define the future of packaging in America, but the retailer won't bring it in. It doesn't make sense. So that their new packaging, I think you've been involved in, it's much more clear. Like, I think it's like this kind of crunchy, actually this crunchy cheese. Is it balls, like whatever they call them? And now And so that was a really difficult one, right? Because no one knows what it is in this country.
Yeah, if nobody knows what the product is, then you have to lead with the product. And 9 times out of 10, the product, if nobody knows anything about you, the brand or the product, whatever, the product is going to sell it.
Yeah.
You have to lean into the product.
Yeah.
You communicate that.
In fact, in the last version I just commented on this morning with the cuñapes, the actual brand is like almost the smallest text now on that product. And I think that was the right answer. And because
absolutely,
no one knows the brand has no power. And I think the biggest thing I've noticed with the younger brands is that they get so attached to their logo and to their brand. and when no one cares yet.
Which isn't a bad philosophy. It's good in theory.
Yep.
And you want to build it to where you have that brand recognition.
Yeah, you just don't have it now. So
Yep, you don't have it now. Yep.
so we got to get there. So fantastic. Well, any other questions, Sasha, that have come in? I want to make sure I have space. We have 2 minutes left.
I don't see any other, but if you guys have questions later, feel free to just send it to our email and we'll have Steve answer them.
Okay. Steve, what an honor to spend this hour with you. I always
likewise.
always learn so much from you, and I often steal your quotes. So I have some new ones that I'll be using, and and also gratefully we're able to make it very real and tangible in terms of working with like actually brands that were here today.
Yeah.
I do encourage, as I said, I recommend people to Steve all the time. I encourage anybody here that has any questions. Steve is always open to have a free call to check in and talk and kind of see where things go.
Yeah, we're not a lawyer. We don't bill for our time on the phone.
Yep, fantastic. So thank you, Steve. Thank you everybody for attending. Grateful for
Luke,
everyone being part of our
thanks,
community.
Sasha, and thanks to everybody that attended. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Sasha, for putting this together today. Take care.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye.